All right, my friends, welcome back to the Gun Show. It's so good to see you out there. This is a very special edition. You see, I got Kevin with me. You notice the background is way different from normal, right? Well, we're actually at the ARMA conference, exhibition. There's a lot going on. We got people all around us. We can hear them in the background. We're having a bit of fun today. We're going to bring guest after guest after guest. Kevin and I are going to start this thing out. He's going to introduce who he is, what he does. Before we get to that, just let me really quickly thank all of our sponsors. Our sponsors are so important. Without them, we can't do anything. But let us go ahead and thank EBITDA Growth Systems. If you are out there and you are a company who is looking to, I don't know, maybe double your profits within 3 years, you might want to give them a call. AMT, the folks at IMTS, truly incredible people. Absolutely appreciate them as well. Shop Rescue. Shop Rescue is that TV series that we're working on right now with Netflix that takes those shops that might want to make more money, right? And actually flip them around and turn them into a profitable facility. And this is being done right here, right now. We're on season 2 of that as we speak. We're actually filming that very, very soon as well to finish off the second series of that. Let us also thank Shop Floor Coffee. If you're drinking coffee on your shop floor right now and it's just regular, generic, off-the-shelf coffee, give those guys a call at Shop Floor Coffee. They make the coffee that supports manufacturing. A percentage of their coffee goes back to the proceeds of manufacturing. And then last but not least, the American Precision Museum. We love you guys. For everyone who has not been, we just released a video, an hour and 10 minutes long, a full tour of the original Silicon Valley. On top of that, you can visit Vermont, in the middle of nowhere. To be fair, it's about an hour and a half away from any airport, but it's worth it, totally worth it. Beautiful area. If you're a skier, if you're a hiker, fly in, definitely check it out. All right, without any further ado, let me welcome Kevin to the scene here. We got cameras rolling, we got 2 empty chairs here. We're gonna have more guests. Kevin, what are we doing here in all this awesomeness?
We are having fun, man. We're celebrating manufacturing. This is Austin Regional Manufacturers Association 2024 Manufacturing State Conference and Expo. I got that backwards, didn't I?
State of Manufacturing Conference and Expo. Yes,
sir. That's what I'm trying to get out. That's what I'm trying to get out. So this is in our Expo Hall. We are doing this right in the middle of the Expo Hall, so it's exciting to see the energy that's in this room and celebrate all our manufacturers, the people who support manufacturing. So to do a shout out for me, we got some sponsors you'll see over my shoulder. I'd like to say thank you to PNC Bank, our title sponsor for this conference. They make this happen. And support manufacturing, and also Texas Mutual, who is our podcast sponsors, who make things happen for us. So we're just novice at doing this podcast thing. I'm here to try and learn from the master, pick up a few things, and hopefully improve our podcast going forward. So I'm excited to be here. This is totally awesome to be with a totally awesome guy. We just came out of our luncheon. Tony did the keynote, got the crowd worked up and excited. So this is fun. We kind of had this crazy idea to say, let's just go set up in the Expo Hall and go do something crazy and grab some people and go do a podcast. So I'm just going. I'm a fan, man. I'm here to be excited.
Well, we're here in Austin, Texas, and there's a slogan here about keeping it weird, right?
We're keeping it weird. We're keeping it as weird as we can.
Well, we have great backgrounds. We have great foregrounds. I'm seeing some really dope 3D printed parts. But before we get to some of the people that are going to come on the show, Kevin, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey. Now, I know bits and pieces of it. I know you have a military background. I know you were an accountant, I think, accidentally. And then somehow now you're running an association, a significant one, might I add, here in the Austin, Texas regional area.
Yeah, it is an interesting story. As I like to say, I'm a recovering CPA. I spent 27 years in public accounting. I served a lot of manufacturers, but I served it from the accounting side. What I never really got to see and experience was go behind the curtain on the shop floor and see all of that. But I am a Marine Corps vet. I've had kind of a crazy path, done a lot of things. I fell into accounting because it's kind of the easy path. Debits, credits came easy to me. I did a lot of tax work over the years. But I just reached a point where I'm still fairly young. I like to think I'm fairly young, and I had some years left in me. So I decided it was time to retire out of the CPA profession and figure out what to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. When I made the decision, I didn't have a path forward. I just said, I'm going to take some time off, try and figure it out. And, as the saying goes, when you close one door, another door opens. And this was one of those opportunities that came up. I was in my retirement going out, and I had been a board member for ARMA from the very beginning and had been involved with the organization. And we had a little surprise from our founding CEO. He decided to move on to another opportunity. And so we had this existential moment where, what are we going to do now? We hadn't planned for that. And so I thought, well, why couldn't a CPA step in and do this and learn this? So I did a lot of soul searching. I tried to determine, is this the way to go? And decided this would be fun. This is something different. Let's go reinvent ourselves for a third career and throw ourselves into it. So I've been in this role now 9 months, started in January, and I've just been a sponge. I'm trying to soak up as much as I can. I know you said earlier you get so much in your head, you lose some of it. I'm trying to keep it all in there. I might just take these with me so I can keep it all in there. But I'm trying to learn everything and soak it up. So. And I'm trying to learn from the people who have been doing this for a long time. So I found you earlier this year, reached out, we connected. I've been following you all along. I learned so much with your shop visits. And so, again, it's a thrill to be here right now sitting next to you because I got a little, I'm flattered. I'm flattered to be here. So yeah, that's my journey. That's what's brought me here. And every day I wake up and say, I don't know what I'm doing, but there's a problem out there. Let's go try and solve it. Let's try and support manufacturing. Let's try and rebrand manufacturing, right? We need to tell the story of manufacturing. So I'm excited about trying to address all of that and join with anybody who wants to be a part of that journey.
Did you say 9 months?
9
months only.
9 months.
And you have already taken this conference to another level, and you're doubling it next year.
Oh,
that's incredible.
Yeah, as I said, so this is the second year in a row that we have sold this conference out. We have a wait list for the exhibition hall, and you can see we're all crammed in on these small tables. And this was my first year experiencing IMTS. I didn't get to go live, but I followed you guys as you were broadcasting live out of there, and I said, wow. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So we clearly need to get bigger. And so this morning we announced the fact that we are actually moving up to Kalahari Resorts, doubling the size of the program. We may triple the size of the expo floor. And I'm excited about the opportunities and just the excitement from our vendors saying, this will be great. How big of a space can I get, right? They're all in on this and it's great to see that. So we're excited about that. I'm a little terrified. It takes a lot to pull one of these things off, and most people don't realize. ARMA's 3 people, right? So we're trying to pull this off with 3 people, but it's going to be fun. I can't wait. And it's a multi-day event, right? That's going to be something new for us as well.
Well, as you grow, I'm sure the team will grow too. When I see you next year, it won't be 3.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't know if I can survive it.
Probably not. All right, what I want to talk about now is ARMA in general. What you guys do, how you support. Let's reach out to some other folks in the regional area of Austin and why they might want to join you. And let's talk about what you're excited about in the Austin regional area when it comes to manufacturing, because you have a lot going on here.
We do. I talked about this morning, and I'm wearing my favorite shirt. I took CEO liberty today and said, I'm not going to wear a suit. I'm going to wear my favorite T-shirt. And it's my favorite T-shirt because on the back, we have a phrase that says, we make more than apps. And when we talk about Austin, Austin was known as a tech town. It was known as the music capital of the world. But nobody knew about manufacturing, right? So we're a fairly young trade association. We've only been around 11 years. And we decided we needed to do this to tell a story. So I was fortunate to be one of the founding board members and create the association to bring vision to the manufacturing in the Austin region. But out of that came our mission, and our mission was to strengthen manufacturing through advocacy, networking, and workforce development. And I'll tell you, 10 years ago, we had no idea what was coming down, the road, right? So we're growing, we're traveling, and then suddenly COVID hits, and COVID shows our supply chain. We had problems in our supply chain.
What was COVID? What's that?
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember that.
It was that period where everybody got to go take a vacation for 3 years or so.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Travel the world and you know, it was great. You could go to Disney World and nobody was there. It was awesome. But we have so much going on right now, and the country has recognized that. And with the you know, here in Austin with the CHIPS Act especially, it has kind of really blown that up. We are a beneficiary of Elon and Tesla and SpaceX and you know, the Boring Company. All of his companies are here now, right? So, you know, when you look at workforce and we talk about that, and you look at a Tesla plant that comes in and needs to hire 20,000 people in a matter of 2 years, that's a daunting task, but we attacked it. We worked with a lot of our education partners to develop programs around that in a lot of high schools. Tesla has been investing heavily in the community to help develop workforce. And then we have the semiconductor industry. That's probably what we're most known for around here. And we have Samsung. You know, they started out with a $17 billion fab expansion, and then through the CHIPS Act, have more than doubled that now. It's a $45 billion investment. They're going to have 2 fabs. They're going to do advanced packaging, and they're going to need to stand up a very specific workforce. So we have a lot going on in the community. It's an exciting time, but it's not just EV and it's not just semiconductor chips, right? We have Army Futures Command here, and that supports all of the DoD innovation. And about 30% of our membership is involved, either directly or indirectly, in defense contracting, right? We have a panel today that's highlighting that and talking about everything that's going on. And that's generating a lot of innovation, right? So it is this collision of the Austin venture technology scene with manufacturing, because manufacturing is innovation, right? And we're going to need that to compete with China and reshore manufacturing. You talked about that today on your keynote, right? In order for us to compete, we're going to have to, you know, have autonomy and robotics and more CNCs. China's killing us on CNC machines right now. So I'm passionate and love what I'm doing right now and talking about it. So we got a lot going on here, and I'm excited to be a part of it and just be in the middle of it. I'm trying to keep my head above water. You know, you and I have talked about surfing. Yeah, I'm trying to forget about standing up on the board. I'm just trying to hold on to the board and ride the wave right now.
I don't blame you for that. So let's talk about why a company, why people would want to get involved in an association. What does an association bring to the table? And I bring that up because I would make the conversation, let's say, that an association has been around a long time in a lot of cases, you know, at least the idea of an association, right?
Yeah.
And they've been around the country, and there's regional ones, there's national ones. And I think there's a generation that understands fully what you're about to say. But there are a lot of young folks that should be joining associations that feel like they can get almost all of their information online without having to spend any money to join an association, so free information. But there's a big deal when it comes to shaking hands, spending times, learning from other people's failures, and really just participating in after hours activities as well, right? And joining each other in a high five and spending time with each other in person and not just online.
Yeah, so I think you just kind of, you nailed it there, right? So one of our pillars is networking. And, you know, again, coming out of that COVID thing where everybody was in their shells and we weren't connecting again, we had a lot of isolation and issues around that. So now it's time to bring everybody back again, right? We need to interact and we need to have that human connection. And that's part of what we try and do with our networking. You know, we try and bring our members together as part of local supply chain, right? One of the most valuable things that we bring as a trade association is this connection so that they can localize their supply chain. I have so many stories where people say, I've been outsourcing this product piece and I didn't realize somebody down the road actually did it. And you guys help connect that, right? That's what the trade association does by connecting that. We reach out to the high schools and we're trying to reach out to the kids and get the kids plugged in now. And you talked about this today. If 6% of women came into the workforce, we would solve our workforce needs, right? So we understand that's a demographic that we need to go after. And so we've actually started a Women in Manufacturing event. We had our first one earlier this year. It became so successful, and now it's an annual event. In fact, we had a breakout session this morning. It was a little networking event. I don't know if you noticed it this morning. There was a room where it was predominantly men because all the women were upstairs networking.
10 a.m.
Yeah. 10
I walked into that room earlier today while they were setting up, actually.
Yeah. So, and they're just up there, and we've got the University of Texas Women in Manufacturing program that's out here today. We had a luncheon where we brought a class of female robotics students out, and then we brought in female executives from our members to mentor them and talk to them and encourage them. So that's one demographic. You've talked about the veterans, right? I'm a veteran. I love veterans, and I love the spouses, right? And spouses earn their stripes as much as the veterans do. And so that is a workforce that we need to tap into. We need to be there so we can be the new tribe for them as they transition out of the military. And so we're excited about some of the veterans initiatives that we're doing here. And so manufacturing is family. Right? It's family, it's tribe, whatever term you want to use for that. And we're trying to create that environment and feel, right? We want to be welcoming, and we want to bring everybody in and make it, a family environment. So we're excited about that. When I talk about the kids, I'd like to talk about manufacturing in the concept of hope, opportunity, and purpose, right? Especially when you're talking Gen Zers. We can talk about all the money you can make, and you talked about the ROI on going in manufacturing, but the Gen Z folks are about purpose. They want to know, what's my purpose? Why am I doing this, right? And what I like to say, manufacturing will give you purpose. If you want to address climate change, manufacturing is working on that. If you want to save lives, manufacturing is doing that. Med device, pharmaceuticals. If you want to go to the moon, or Mars, we got Firefly, we got SpaceX, we got everybody who's sending stuff up to the moon right now. We're excited about that, and to be a part of that. We got semiconductor, we've got all this other stuff. So we have purpose. I like to talk about hope. Hope is this opportunity for 57% of the kids who graduate from high school in Texas do not go on to post-secondary. So where do they go? They don't do tests well, but they think with their minds, and they can work with their hands, and they can think of great ideas like this, and they can program 3D, and they play games, and this is where they're at. So we think there's hope for them in a future where they can have a career and a family and buy a house and live that American dream. So there's hope. And then in the middle of that is the opportunity piece, because if you master your craft, where else do you have the opportunity to go out and start your own business, right? So there's opportunities about that. I love hearing the stories about these small, 1-2 person machine shops that are growing, and now they're a 10-person machine shop. So there's the opportunity, for kids who never thought, I'll never be a business owner, but there is a pathway through manufacturing. So you bring all that together, and we've got a compelling story to tell. We just need to make sure it's heard.
We're working on that. We're damn sure working on that. All right, let's talk about some of the parts that are on the table right now, Kevin. I mean, every time I see a cool part, I always ask if I can have it. I would say I'm about 50-50 on actually receiving the components, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. Can I have this dragon?
Well, we can check with our friends over at Impact Systems, who is our member, who has made several of these 3D printed parts. And maybe we can get them to come over here and talk, and you can ask them directly. But, you put some pressure on them, they might let you have it. We got Hogwarts over here. We're excited about that.
Is that what that is? Hogwarts?
That's Hogwarts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's Hogwarts over there. And these beautiful little succulents come from one of our other members, Method Architecture. They 3D printed the little base and then put the succulents in there. So they're bringing color to, to the table. But yeah, this is, the little fidget tools.
Well, I have to ask about the succulents before we move on to that. What is that in the front? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. What is that? Anyway, are they biodegradable that's holding the plants? Do you have any idea?
That I don't know.
I want to ask them, right? Because if we're printing plastic and we're housing plants, I'd almost want them to be biodegradable at the same time, or at least eco-friendly, right?
No, that's a great question. We'll have to ask that question.
Are they going to come on our show today?
Oh, well, they're standing right out there, so we can get them over here pretty quickly.
We got a good few guests coming in here today, don't we?
I think we do. You know, we got a lot of excitement, a lot of people who want to talk about manufacturing.
Elon Musk, are we getting him in? I mean, I know we got a big old Tesla facility here. Is he coming in?
It's a funny thing. So Elon, if you're out there and you see this, I get a $10,000 bonus if I can get you to come speak. So please, man, I could use that now. So
you get a $10,000 bonus if you get him to speak, but I'm willing to bet it costs a lot more than that to get him to speak.
Maybe. I don't know. You know, he's a busy guy these days. He's got a lot of things going on. But yeah, Elon, if you're out there, you're more than welcome to always come in and talk manufacturing.
Did you know that when SpaceX was just a few years in business, I went into the Southern California facility and got to spend time. I will not say I got to hang out with Elon Musk. That is incorrect. But in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Does that count? The vicinity?
You know he walked those floors, right? So you can say, yeah, I'm following the ghost of Elon.
I hope it's not the ghost all the way, though. We're still there. All right. When I got to spend time in SpaceX as well, though, something really cool about that Southern California facility is when you walk in or walk out after you get past the main desk area, after you get into the facility, before you get to the manufacturing or the engineering side of things, there is an area that was filmed for, I want to say, Iron Man 2. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't know that I knew that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
There's a place there with all the computers set up, and they still have it set up. There's like an Iron Man replica in there or something like that.
All right. Well, this is the cool stuff you get to see when you go visit all these places, right? Yeah, it's we can talk about that because we've got you here this week filming some of our members, and we're going to go see some dinosaurs on Friday. That's going to be fun.
What company is that going to be?
Tyrex. We're coming for you on Friday, and the opportunity to speak to, again, some high school students from the high school coming in. So we're excited to have you talk to them.
You got me doing a lot of talking this week, don't you?
Oh, yeah, man. We're going to keep you busy. This is what we do.
Well, before we start bringing on guests, is there anything else that you'd like to discuss with everyone watching on the podcast right now? Anything about ARMA, anything about your event, the growth, anything about manufacturing? You mentioned 9 months being here, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned a background that doesn't necessarily pertain to manufacturing, so I imagine there's a whole lot of excitement as you continue to dive into manufacturing. Every time you see something, it's like, holy shit, I didn't know we did that too.
Yeah, no, it's I guess what I would say is don't be afraid. You talked about, your comfort zone today in your podcast and pushing it a little bit more and a little bit more. When I thought about this position, it was like, what do I have? What can I bring to this? How do I run a trade association? I don't know all the ins and outs of machining and CNC and all that stuff. But then I said, you know what? What's the worst I could do? Fail? Okay, all right. It's not like I'm performing heart surgery, as we used to say in my old profession. And I thought, let's do this. Let's go lean into it. And it's been the most exciting, exhilarating thing I've ever done. I'm so happy to be here, doing what I'm doing, learning every single day. I spent a lot of time going out and visiting with the members and just trying to absorb it. I did something earlier this year with TSTC, which is Texas State Technical College, one of our education institutions. You had talked about the CTE programs when we were in high school. Well, I went through CTE. I took welding and I took metal shop and grinding and lathing, but I went a different direction. And so one of the projects that we had to do in our class was to mill a little hammer. Well, I found that hammer in a box. It's about, I don't know, I'm going to date myself, 45 years old, and it was pretty rusty. I soaked it in vinegar for a long time and tried to scrub the rust off, and I said, you know what? I want to go back and make this. I want to see if I can do this. And so I went out to TSTC. They brought me one of their star students, and he sat with me. He designed it, and then he put me on a lathe and a mill, and we started making that hammer again. And I tell you, things have changed a little bit, right? I didn't have the little numeric stuff that would tell me what my cut was back in the day. So that was kind of nice. But we remade that hammer, and it was fun to be back in there and actually producing something. So, yeah, that was a blast, and I thank my friends at TSTC that allowed me to come out and do that. But that's part of just trying to learn. I can't talk to it the same way you do because you've been in the industry. So if I go up into a CNC machine, I ask, is it 3-axis, 5-axis, 6-axis? That's about as far as I've gotten right now. So I'm learning, a little bit at a time, and I hope to learn a little bit more and talk about that. So I think, we may have a Spinner on here in a little bit, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that they're doing, which is really cool. I'm excited to hear about, the space they're in. It ties in with our DoD panel today, so that'll be good to have Salim on and talk about that.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of elaborate on that a little bit from your perspective, Kevin. And you said that you're still learning. You talked about 3-axis, 5-axis, 6-axis, that kind of stuff, right? Do you feel like when you are, I'm going to use the word undereducated in certain things of manufacturing as you're still learning, right? When you walk in from a perspective of wanting to learn more, do you ever feel judged or do you feel accepted and people want to teach you?
That's a great question. I don't feel judged, right? It is welcoming. People want to teach, right? And, maybe when I first started doing this, I was like, oh yeah, I know about that. And then I've learned, no, don't try and hide it. Just say,
exactly.
I have no idea what you just told me. Can you slow that down and teach it to a novice and tell me exactly again what that was so I can truly understand that? And everybody wants to teach, right? This is the great thing about being involved with this community, because they want to teach you. They want to show you what they're doing. We've talked about, manufacturers are introverts and they don't really brag about themselves. This is what we do. We brag about our manufacturer. We want to bring that out there and show what they do. And so I've learned, look, again, I'm a recovering CPA. I don't know what this stuff is. I can tell you how much it costs because I probably did the accounting for it. And there's some expensive pieces of equipment, but I couldn't tell you what they do. Now I'm starting to see that, and it's really fun to see that all come together now. But no judgment, and you just got to be vulnerable to it, right? You've got to open it up and say, look, I'm learning. Can you help teach me? Show me the ways, master.
I bring that up because even just recently, just today, right after that keynote we gave, a young man who is in trade school right now came up to me and thanked me for that conversation. But he said he's trying to tell his friends about manufacturing, and he'll show them something in a shop, and immediately this is too much. I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. What do I do, right? So I bring that up and I look into the cameras to say this because if you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, you're not going to be judged, and people want to teach. It was a strategic question I asked Kevin because I knew what the answer was going to be, but that's important for everyone to understand, is that we want to educate, and it's not going to be in a judgment, and we actually expect to teach because it's not being taught in schools currently, and we're trying to do a better job to advocate for it and bring it back to schools. But we're not supposed to assume. We know what assuming does, but we assume that happens to be the situation, right? And I think that remains true for a lot of people. Something else I want to bring up is that if we look around this room right now, we see experts in every said piece of what it is they're talking about. I see tax solutions here, I see insurance here, I see some, great machining around, I see cobots over on the other side. Everyone's an expert in their own level of education, right? And sometimes we make the mistake of speaking at the level that we understand something. So it's really beneficial for someone to ask us a question in the way that you do and say, hey, I'm new to this. Can you educate me in a different level? And I think that's important to understand as well, is because even when I'm doing sales or talking with people, I'll start saying, how many acronyms do we have in manufacturing anyway? Everything's a freaking acronym, right?
Too many, yeah.
And I've had people go, stop, tell me what these CNC, computer numerical control, okay, I got it. Tell me about all these acronyms, right? But it's important that we don't overspeak to people as well.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we were just out at Georgetown has opened up a new Future Ready complex. It's a fabulous training facility for Georgetown High School. And as I'm walking through and we're doing the tour, and I'm representing manufacturing, somebody on the tour turned to me and says, "What does CNC actually stand for?" And I was like, "It's computer new." Yeah, it caught me off guard, right? I've been saying it all along, but it was like, what is CNC? I don't know. Let me get back to you on that, right? But it's stuff like that. Like, you just have to say, I don't know, but I'll figure it out, and I should understand what that is, right?
Yeah, I think that's another thing when I make eye contact with people watching is to say, it takes courage to admit when we don't know something, and too many people pretend. I was definitely that kid in the back of the classroom that never raised his hand. And if I didn't know the answer, I just pretended I did. And I lost a lot of valuable opportunities to learn by doing that. I think it takes a real courage to raise your hand and say, I don't know what you're talking about. Please let me learn. And I don't care. Look, it might be harder in middle school and high school when all the kids are on. You're like, bah, you don't know. But they don't know either.
Yeah.
Like, stop it. We all are learning all the time, right? So I think it's very courageous for those of us out there who say, I don't know the answer, please explain it to me.
Yeah, you know, what's that saying? The only dumb question is the question you don't ask, right? So be inquisitive and you know, fill your brain and learn it, understand it. Because if you gloss over it because you're, you know, I don't want to ask that question, then you don't learn, right? You don't build on that skill set. So I think it's important. And every single day, I ask what I think are stupid questions, but people say, I'm glad you asked that question because let me explain it to you. So,
something I don't want to forget before we move into other guests, and you actually warned me a little bit. You're like, I'm going to flip the script on you, Tony. I'm going to ask you a few questions. So
I think you've been stalling on that.
I have been. I have definitely been doing that. Usually I'm the person asking the questions, right? But before we do, what is that? I laughed about it a little. What is that?
So again, this is from our friends. Again, at Impact Systems, and this is a viral video I think that's out on the internet about a puzzle piece. This is actually two pieces. This is the large version. I was like, guys, can you make the small version so we can play with it? It's heavy, but you pull this piece off and you can turn it upside down, and it fits together in this beautiful little thing. It's loud. We heard it earlier, right? When we did it.
A jet engine taking off.
Yeah,
or something.
it sounds like a jet engine. And I'm like, well, we need that in the conference room. We need to get people's attention because that's the way it works. But this is so this is a big 3D printed version of this puzzle, which can get you a little bit confused. But you know, we said, bring it out. Let's show it off. But I'm sure people out there have probably seen this out on YouTube somewhere, the manufacturing of this. And again, this is what I love about, you know, the YouTube. People are out there trying to teach things in 3D additive manufacturing right now because the kids love to come into that. And so this is an idea that's been shared, and people then say, well, how can I do that, right? I want to design that and build that myself. And so this is what we get.
Did you know, and I asked that because I'm pretty sure you didn't, but I have to, you know, pose the question anyway. Did you know I've now interviewed 3 or 4 shops that were started by young kids who 100% learned how to program from YouTube and then started their shop based on that, have purchased machines, have met all of their sales folks, all through like online portals, all through the ability to communicate online?
Yep, no, and I hear that story a lot right now. And I can mention Titan Gilroy and what he's done, right, with his online training. And so people want to teach, and they want to have access into that market and training. And again, if you can apply yourself, practice it, perfect it, and the stories that you're going to hear a story, you know, as we go out to one of our other manufacturer members and film this week out at Car Lane, about an individual who was doing something different, and he was kind of bored. And he's like, hey, can I just come work in your machine shop part-time? I'll do a piece. And he started doing a piece, and then he's like, well, what's that machine over there? Can you teach me on that? And he took to it, right? And so he became one of their best people, and they brought in a 6-axis machine, their first 6-axis machine, and they said, we want you to learn how to use this machine. And he said, I'm all in on that, right? So we're going to talk to him later this week, and it's the stories like that where people come into it, and they just they master their craft, and they love what they're doing about it. So those are the stories that's why we're here, right? That's why we do this.
That's exactly right. All right, I'm gonna let you flip the script if you want to, and if you don't, we're gonna bring on our first guest. How are we gonna work this, my friend?
All right. Well, so I've gotten to know you a little bit, but you came in Saturday night, and I know, I learned a thing or two. Tell a story about your soccer background, because I understand you were really good at soccer, played at a high level, right? So again, tell everybody the story about soccer.
I love the sport. I know there's a lot of sports out there, especially in the U.S. I always love soccer because there's no timeouts, there's no breaks, there's no huddles, and you got to be in shape. And I was a kind of hyperactive little kid, so I did baseball, I ran track, I was a black belt in karate, I played soccer, pretty much tried all the sports really, but stuck with soccer because there's no breaks, and that was what I did. What are they building? What are they building right beside of us?
Well, we're getting ready for happy hour.
Oh, that's happy. Are we going to get to drink while we do this?
Well, we can if we keep rolling into happy hour. I have no problem with that.
What time's happy hour start?
Well, around 4 o'clock. So we got to talk a little bit
We should
longer.
get an earlier drink than the rest of the people. We got to make sure it's not poison.
We can make that happen. We can make that happen.
I mean, if they're putting it together, that's the least they could do for us. So I played my entire life. When I was in high school, my senior year, I want to say, was it like 29 goals and 46 assists? Or something like that?
Stay right there. All right, keep going.
Yeah, we're going to bring this guy on.
We're going to bring this guy on.
Awesome.
This is how it's going to roll this afternoon.
So we're going to bring him right on. I like it.
So you keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, my senior year, I was recruited by so many people, but I graduated high school with a 1.26. I dropped out my junior year of high school because I couldn't play soccer. Went back and took summer school to graduate on time with my friends, but I was a real idiot. My dad told me, son, if you're good enough at sports, you can make the pros and you don't need school. That worked out, didn't it? Obviously, I didn't get to do that, but I did get to go. So at that time, University of Maryland, University of Virginia, they were the top schools in the country. Indiana floats around that area. I mean, there's some great schools. I grew up in Virginia, and I was recruited by these schools, at least looked at. Conversations were there. Old Dominion out in Virginia Beach, another good school. But my grades were so bad, I ended up going to a JUCO college. So for those who don't know what a JUCO is, it's like a practice college to get into a real college. But they do have, so instead of like NCAA, even though it is a part of NCAA, it's like a JUCO version of NCAA. So I'm in there, and my freshman year, I'm the 6th leading scorer in the nation for JUCO. Wow. I mean, I'm starting at center mid. I'm, dominating the pitch. And again, it's JUCO level, so it's not like full D1, right? But dominating. Second year, I win MVP. But also, if you recognize the best part of my story, I am not great at school. I could, even now sitting at a desk at this table, it's like, I want to move, I'm getting itchy, I can't sit at a desk and memorize and repeat. And so again, I get kicked out of college because of my grades. So at that time, I'm actually recruited by the University of Maryland from JUCO, but they look at my now academic probation like, well, I guess you're not coming here. So I'm now academically prohibited to be into an NCAA school. So I go to an NAIA school, and within a month, and it's a religious school, I get kicked out. Within a month, they kick me out of the religious school. So I get kicked out of 3 colleges in no time. So I start training at like the farm teams, right? So that's about as far as I got because I was also a very young father. Yeah. 20 years old, I became a father. 21 technically, I became a father, but 20 years old, I was prepping to be a father. And so that was, although I played at a very high level, I was the 3rd best team in the nation for men over 30 league. So over 30, we were the 3rd best team for over 30. And our co-ed team dominated every tournament we went to. A lot of pro players, ex-pro players of a women's were on that team as well. So I played for a very long time at a very high level, and I absolutely love and admire the game. But that's kind of my, like, I scored 21 goals when I was in 2nd grade. I shouldn't even been on the fist. It wasn't even fair. From kindergarten to 7th grade, I played in my community league, which had I want to say 8 teams per season. I only lost 1 season playing spring and fall the entire time. I always had first place trophies. I always played on the #1 team in the state, played what was called ODP, which was an Olympic development program. So always at a very high level, but never quite good enough to drop out of school and still make the pro level like some other folks I played with.
Well, so I appreciate that story, and soccer's not something that I really knew a lot about until we here in Austin got our professional team 4 years ago. I call it a professional team right now. Sometimes they play like a professional team, and you might try out for them.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
So I got some season tickets, and I started going out because I used to think, oh, soccer, man, these guys are flopping on the field all the time, and then all this
Neymar,
stuff.
it's all Neymar's fault.
Yeah,
rolling around.
Well, but when you go out and you start to see it live, and you realize, to your point, it's 45 minutes nonstop, plus the added time, right? And I'm like, where's the timeouts? Like, when do they get to take a break? And I'm like, okay, no, I got respect for this because they're running, and when you're up close and you see how fast these guys are moving down the field, I'm like, oh yeah, and it's not basketball they're moving, but they get timeouts, and it's a smaller court. Like, this is huge what they got to cover. So I get it, and so I understand that, and I knew you had a background in soccer, right? So when Tony was coming in, he's coming in Saturday night, I said, hey, man, I've got tickets to Austin FC. Is that enough to entice you to come hang out with me?
And it was.
Yeah, so he said, normally I don't do that, but, football, the real football, I'll do that. That's interesting. So I said, cool, I'll meet you. What time's your flight land? He said, I get in at 5:30. Well, the match starts at 7:30, and I'm doing the math like, well, it's going to be pretty tight, but we can get out there in time. We can do that. And so he lands at the airport, and he's like, okay, yeah, it took a little bit longer to get my luggage. Now I'm standing in line at the airport. I'm waiting for my rental car. Oh, I don't have a place to stay tonight. My booking agency screwed up. I might have to sleep in my car. And I was going to offer you. I said, you don't have to sleep in your car. You can come over to the house. We'll do that. But as the night's going along, I'm like, oh, I don't think this is going to happen. Oh, man. And so...
Heartbreaking, by the way.
It was
I wanted
heartbreaking.
to be there.
And I know you wanted to be there, and you were enthusiastic, and I wanted to do that. But I said, you know what? That's all right. We can send you out with a little memento of what almost was happening. And you're more than welcome to always come back and do that. So
Thank you.
I got you something that you can take home, and I want to present this with you. So... we decided.
Oh, no, you didn't.
We did. So we have an Austin FC jersey, and we personalized it for you.
All right.
There's the gun. All right. 24, your year, 2024 right here to commemorate coming to Austin. So, Tony, this is for you. We appreciate you coming down and spending some time. And I'm sorry we didn't get out to the match, but hopefully you can take this back and then come back, and we'll find a time to go out and you can wear it.
Absolutely incredible. I want to wear it now.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. What a great gift.
So,
I guess I'm a Austin FC fan.
We've got one of the best crowds. You can wear that to Miami. You can show it off in Miami.
I'm not sure how they'll feel about that.
Well, all right. So, yeah, that was what I wanted to do and talk a little bit about. So, enough of us, man. Let's get some people on here. And I want to invite Ryan from Impact, who is the company that made all this happen. So, Ryan, come on over here for a minute.
I did research for my next opportunity because I wanted to write a book. And I came across this statistic that 70% of small business owners want to fund their retirement through the sale of their business, when in fact only 20% of them actually had a saleable business. And it broke my heart anticipating the fact that baby boomers, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and in fact it was a train. And so I really wanted to do something about that. So I wrote a book called Scaling the Exit. The purpose of the book was to articulate a strategy for small to medium-sized business owners to increase the value of their business to the extent that they could actually sell it and fund their retirement. And that was really the first iteration of what became EBITDA Growth Systems and our brand promise, which is to double the valuation of small, medium-sized businesses, specifically in terms of an exit, but double their valuation, or we give them their money back.
All right, my friends, we now have Ryan Davis, sales executive at Impact Systems. He says he's never done a podcast before, but who cares? We're going to have some fun, and we're going to learn a little bit more about his story, his company, why he's here, why Kevin invited him. In fact, while Kevin and I were talking, he saw Ryan stopping by. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not going anywhere, bro. We need you here, right now. Sorry for singing. I apologize. I know you guys don't like it. I just love singing, even when I'm bad at it. So, Ryan, thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Share a little bit about who you are for the audience, for everyone watching right now.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're not live. It can all be edited.
Sounds good to me.
But who you are and how you got into the business you're in.
All right, so additive manufacturing or 3D printing has been around for forever. I've actually tried to get into the business for a few years. Ended up going to a golf course, meeting up with a buddy of mine. He had a new job working for Impact Systems Engineering. Said, hey, come meet my boss. Boss tried me out for a few days actually and said, hey, you're hired. Come on, let's get into this industry. We'll teach you on the fly. I've now been with the company for over 5 years, selling 3D printers of all sorts. We have our affordable lineup, your desktop style printers, and then we have our large scale production 3D printers, as in HP Multi-Jet Fusion or your desktop metal style printers. So yeah, I mean, we've been around for 35 plus years. Started out as an engineering firm, brought on additive manufacturing to supplement the 3D models, give somebody a part in their hand. Say they needed this dragon, they needed it to scale, they needed to see form, fit, function. We could hand that to them. They could say, no, I need you to change the horns, I need you to change the legs, give it back to us. We take it back, we model it again, give it to them. They like it, then they can take it and produce it either through 3D printing or a traditional manufacturer. So once we had them in-house, decided, hey, let's be a reseller as well. So now we resell for 17 different OEMs, as well as a parts service for most of the printers that we carry. So,
Well, do you have questions? I have questions already.
Yeah, go.
All right, so the additive manufacturing world to me is fascinating because, and I like that you said, we've been around 35 years, right?
35
We've been
years.
around for 35 years. I was thinking immediately in my head, has additive manufacturing been around? We brought it in. I was like, oh, good catch. I like that. All right, so additive manufacturing as a whole. Okay. I have done a lot of interviews with folks who are utilizing additive manufacturing.
okay.
I've done a lot of interviews with folks who don't see where it fits for them in additive
Understandable.
manufacturing. I've done interviews with people who utilize it as prototyping. They also utilize it as soft jaws. So instead of having to machine soft jaws all over the place, I've been to one company who had thousands of soft jaws for all the different jobs, and they're like, I'll just 3D print it instead of wasting one of my machines and all that downtime to make my soft jaws. I'll do that.
Exactly.
And I've had great conversations with the folks that are now 3D printing and machining simultaneously.
Exactly.
So they're making perfect components. I would still say, even though it's an exciting product and something that certainly excites the next generation coming in, I would say between automation and 3D printing and AI, those are some of the most exciting things to talk about, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Where would you say for an audience out there that says 3D printing, additive manufacturing is still a bit slow, it's still not where I need it to be, and I don't know where to put it? What would you say to those folks to say, maybe this is why you should give it a try?
So yeah, no, great question. We get it all the time. People
sure.
are like, hey, you print foam parts, you print like that dragon,
So, I
for
want the
example.
dragon.
I mean, yeah, and dragon, everything we have is for sale also. So you name the price,
Is this
I'll
yours?
get it to you. Yeah, it's our company's, yeah.
I definitely will give you. So I have some money in my pocket, and I would like Hogwarts as well. While we're negotiating,
that one's been floating around a while. So we would print you a new one. It's been beat up in a trade show box for the past probably 4 years.
Can I tell you real quick where these will go if you do sell them or give them to me? So I do this podcast in South Florida all the time, and my backdrop is just gifts that people have given me from machining from around the world. And I have a Thor's hammer that's legit. I have a big Mandalorian helmet.
Can you pick it up?
Oh yeah.
You can pick up the Thor's hammer?
Oh, okay. I'm worthy.
All right. I had to ask.
But I would totally add these to my podcast set in South Florida. So
we'll see what we do. I do got to run it by the boss, of course. Everything's got to go through the boss. But so to answer your question from earlier, additive manufacturing, which used to be called 3D printing, I guess you can still use the word 3D printing. 3D printing, think of it like a hot glue gun, or FDM style printing is more like your first one ever made was like a hot glue gun. So you're taking layer by layer, creating a part from the ground up. That is a slow process. I agree with that 100%. Now, where that technology still comes into play is your large format 3D printing. It is still FDM style, which is layer by layer, creating your part from the ground up. They have advanced it to where now you have additive manufacturing, and it is going to be your powder bed system. So we carry HP multi-jet fusion. Now, this boasts a 15 by 11 by 15 inch chamber. You're not limited to any geometry because you're not limited to any sort of support. The powder is the support. So you layer of powder, you put a binding agent, and then you fuse that together with a UUV lamp. Now, that creates your part layer by layer by layer by layer, and then once it's done, you blow it off and it's good to go. Now, depending on the size of your part, I can make a couple hundred or I can make a couple million in a year. So it is large scale production now. We have to sit here and take that justification of, okay, how much is it to get a mold? How much is it per part if you went through additive, and weigh all of your options, because to get a mold made, it is quite expensive sometimes. They want you to do 10,000, 50,000 as a minimum. You only need 100. So we're bridging a gap and then going even further depending on if you want to go that next step to traditional manufacturing. So you can also supplement all of your manufacturing needs. We have printers out there that are fixing 20-year-old traditional manufacturing machines because you can't find the parts anymore. That is why they have them in their facility. So there's a million and one different uses for your 3D printer or your additive manufacturing equipment. You just have to realize that it's not just a tool. It can bring you materials that are 17-4 stainless steel, titanium, aluminum, your PEEK, your Ultim, those are high temp polymers, carbon fiber material, or you can have your prototyping, which is PLA, ABS, which is similar to what you see on the table. So it's advanced a lot in the 15 years I've been around it, and I mean, it's just getting better. We're not trying to replace, again, traditional manufacturing. We're trying to run side by side.
Yeah.
So
it's a great answer.
Excuse me. So this is one of the things that I've been trying to understand in the additive space, and you just kind of touched on it, which is the materials.
Correct.
And so you had mentioned carbon. Is carbon fairly new now in the additive? And what's the properties of carbon? Because I'm going to ask these questions, right? That you know, I'm trying to understand, because carbon's supposed to be one of these super materials, but is it fairly new in additive manufacturing?
So carbon fiber has been around for a while. So it's not going to be, you're not printing with full carbon fiber. You're printing with what's called a chopped filament carbon fiber. So they take your base of either your PLA, which is the most commonly used, most affordable material in the filament world. You chop that with about 15% carbon fiber to add a lot of strength. Now, depending on what material that you cut with your carbon fiber, like your ABS, it's going to be a little stronger than PLA. PET-G, even stronger. You're going to go all the way up to a PEEK carbon fiber, which is the strongest one that we carry. We're going to be stronger than aluminum at that point. So we do have all of our data sheets, technical data sheets on our website. It's www.impactsystems.com. Hopefully it'll be other places that you can see it. But yeah, I mean, we have all your data sheets, all the machines that we carry. And then also we do design for additive manufacturing classes. We train in PTC Creo, and we are an engineering firm. So you give us a drawing on a napkin, we can take that and we can turn it into a print for you.
A drawing on a napkin. We're still doing that, right?
We're still doing that.
We're still doing that. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm going to share a quick story with you guys. I actually was doing some work with Mitsubishi Electric over in Dusseldorf, Germany. And they've been supporting their customers and clients for 40 plus years, except a lot of their stuff can't be replaced when it breaks down. Exactly what you were describing about replacement parts. And I said, well, what do you do? They said, we 3D print it. Every component, because we can't warehouse everything, every component that a client needs from a machine that's 30, 40 years old, we 3D print that component to make sure it works. To me, that's a brilliant use for it.
It is. I completely agree. So I did want to point out that we carry 8 different lines of 3D printers at Impact Systems Engineering. We vet everything, so we bring it in-house, we test it, we try it, we try to break it, so that we know exactly what's wrong with these printers if something goes down. Now, I can assist with everything that we carry, but if it's not the right process, there's probably a right process out there for you. We carry powder bed FDM, large format FDM, high temp FDM. We have the ability to put a Meltio engine, which is a wire feed technology on metal on the end of a robot. So one of these processes isn't going to fit everybody's need. That's why we as a company carry so many different 3D printers, 3D printer styles.
Did you catch all those acronyms, by the way?
Yeah,
We were talking about acronyms earlier today because he's been doing this for like 9 months for ARMA.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you notice how many acronyms we have in this industry?
It's crazy. It's
Alphabet
crazy.
soup, baby.
Well, any other follow-up questions for our buddy Ryan?
No, I appreciate you coming by, and thanks for adorning the table.
Yeah.
This is fun. I think this is really a cool space, and certainly an up-and-coming space in the manufacturing world. So.
And all I would say, Ryan, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the first podcast with us. But also, if this is missing, just don't ask any questions.
Don't ask any questions. Okay. Yeah.
Just let it be.
I'll
like
try
the
my
Beatles say.
hardest. I'll try my hardest to let it be. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
All
Ryan.
right,
We appreciate your time, brother.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, my friends, we have John and Bill, co-owners of Athena. And although I've been to Greece not too long ago, we're not talking about that Athena this time. We're talking about a manufacturing facility that actually has been developing the workforce for 3 years. And they just took a recent trip over to Germany and met some of my best friends over there. So I'm really excited to learn more about what Athena does. And maybe you guys will learn with me today. So guys, thank you so much for being here, Kevin. And thank you for having them on the show.
Absolutely. I'm going to give a plug for John real quick. He sometimes forgets this, but he's going to be my new board chair here in about 2 weeks. So are you ready?
Looking forward to it.
Board chair, what does that mean?
I'm going to be the board chair of ARMA, and so I'll be on the lead the Kevin.
Didn't you just tell me you were semi-retired?
Well, not really, but we're trying to do that, but it's not working out as well for me as it is for Bill.
Well, Bill, tell me, before Kevin gets started, because I know he knows you guys really well, tell me a bit about Athena, how it got started, what you do at the workforce development, and I believe you even have some kids involved at this point, don't you?
We do. We have some kids that are 40 years old involved.
We still call them kids, right?
Absolutely. Well, we founded Athena in the year 2000. We had owned a similar company before and sold it. Took a couple of years off, and always been interested in metalworking, and I had a background in mechanical engineering. John's an accountant, so it's complementary. You know, he does that stuff and I do the other stuff. So we founded Athena and started with just a machine shop, and then after a non-compete expired, we added sheet metal fab, which we had done prior also, and just kind of, you know, scratched and scraped our way through the next 24 years, and here we are now. And we do a lot of big precision tube frame welding, real complicated frames for semiconductor wafer fab tools.
Hello, Bill.
A lot of automation. Got about 200 employees and about 90,000 square feet, 4 buildings, 3 buildings that we own, one that we lease, and do clean room work, clean room final assembly, and a good bit of engineering, and that's what we do.
Hey, we were considering filming there, weren't we?
We were. It was on the list. You guys are up next time because we're going to have
Right.
Tony back and we're going to do this again. So we will be out to Athena and show you guys off.
And you guys wanted to brag about your CPA stuff too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, this table is anchored by 2 CPAs, so the CPAs rule in the day.
Interesting part of our business. Bill and I have been friends for 61 years, and so we both turned
Impossible.
65. We both turned 65 this summer. Bill just Sunday, and so we've got Bill's son. Bill has twin sons that are 27, 26, and one of them just came back and joined us, and we're really fortunate to have him. He's a mechanical engineer as well, and then my 2 sons work in the company. One of them is now the president, and the other one is in charge of our IT. And so they've been there 17 and 14 years, and so it's a family business, and we really scratched and scraped our way through, and Bill has done a wonderful job at getting some of the finest companies in the world as customers of ours.
Yeah, we're proud of that.
Bill has traveled from Dubai to Japan to everywhere in between, and we're very fortunate to have make parts for some of the finest companies in the world. And it's really been a satisfying career. We get to make stuff, and people have shops in there, that do this kind of stuff as a hobby. We get to do it every day. I was an accountant for 17 years, and there are wonderful accountants out there, but it was...
You were smarter than me. You got out 10 years before I got out.
Well, geez, it's a great profession, and I learned a lot in that. Making sure you have enough cash to pay your bills is really important. Keeping your bankers happy matters. But I always hated billing my clients. That was always something, they were friends of mine, and it was just not much fun to send bills to people that you played golf with, and so selling a product and negotiating before you that they want the product, they need the product, and you make it, and they're happy to get it and pay you for it, and then they sell it, and we make the parts that make the machines that make the chips that are in your phone, and or you fly on an airplane or a helicopter. We're very fortunate to have just a very strong customer base, and it's been a wonderful career.
I have a follow-up question immediately.
Go.
How did you guys remain friends for so long as business partners? So many businesses go under in that way.
I just think it's just mutual respect, and it's a marriage of sorts. It is a marriage.
Yeah.
You have to give each other plenty of space to and then when when you want to do something and you're real passionate and committed to it, you got to let the other guy do it if he believes that strongly.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I've lost a few of those marriages with my friends due to business. I mean, I've launched a couple of businesses and had to dissolve them based on that exact principle. So, I mean, 65 years. 60,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
We
Congratulations.
probably beat the odds on that one.
You sure did.
Yeah.
All right, travel a little bit. You guys recently just went over to Munich, Germany, right? You've already mentioned, John, that Bill's been from Japan to Dubai to all over the world. Tell me a little bit about your trip to Germany.
Well, we started in Munich, and Spinner had an open house, and the weather was horrible, but it was a great show. A lot of one-on-one interaction. You know, we just bought a really complicated machine that you don't just plug it in and say go.
From the spinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just rigged it in. It was under power, and as a matter of fact, I think we were conducting the training while we were in Germany. We had started it anyway. So we went there, great reception, met a lot of people. Then we went to Heimer, spent a day there. Then we went to Grove, spent a day there. We have a Grove cell at Athena. And then we ended up at Index, close to Stuttgart. And we don't have any Index equipment, but it's such a fabulous, you know, one of a kind, amazing deal that when you're that close, you need to go take a look. So we did, and that was that.
Do you see how they made those machines at Index? It's incredible, isn't it?
It's just worrying it in one
Yeah.
part at a time. Yeah.
Incredible. And the number of parts you can make per minute with one of those machines is just amazing. Those things.
You know, the spinner tool is got, I don't know, 7 or 9 or 13 degrees of freedom, but that Index multi-spindle tool is just, it's difficult to wrap your head around it.
When John and Bill are talking about that, do you know what they're...
No.
All right, I'm going to describe something to you, and I'm going to try and do a good job, so you guys let me know where I mess up, because you guys are the engineers here. So if you think about a machine tool that can do multiple operations, so we call it a multitasking machine, and we can say something like a spinner, for example, because you have one of those. It allows you to take a piece of raw material, and normally, or at least traditionally, you could take that raw material and you would take it on one machine and then put it into another machine and then put it into another machine. Well, now you can take those operations and combine them into one part, so we call it a done-in-one, meaning I can put raw material, and when I get it out, I can put it into a box, or at least closer to putting it into a box, right? Now take the theory and concept of I'm doing something on the top, something on the bottom, something from the side. Maybe I have 2 turrets on either side as well, right? So I can do op 10 and op 20 on either side, right? Now, what the machines that we're talking about, these multitasking Index machines are, is if all of these operations that I'm doing inside of this machine are now being done at one time. So now I have a 1 minute process here, but then I have to do the second process over here that's say 1 minute or something, and a third process from the top, and a fourth from the bottom, and each one is a minute. Well, now what I've done is I have, say, 8 spindles around this part, and it rotates and shifts all the way around. So I'm doing each operation in a shift. So now let's say my 8-minute part with 8 spindles is now a 1 minute part that comes off every minute instead of every 8 minutes. So it's still done in one, but it's done in 1 minute instead of 8 minutes. And it allows you, now the math that goes into that, because here's the general rule, Kevin, when it comes to a machine like that. I have 8 operations, and each operation must be mathematically similar in order for it to make sense. I can't have one operation that's 3 minutes and one operation that's 2 seconds, because my 3 minute is holding up my 3 seconds, right? So this needs to be, that's the programming expertise behind these machines, is saying, I need to organize my 8 spindles in order to make this piece 59 seconds, this one 57, this one minute and 2. So now I'm still getting that part off at the same time. That's kind of the fascinating aspect of it.
If they have a turn in the OD, for example, and it takes 10 seconds to go all the way down, it might do it in 3 spindles.
Right.
It'll move it just so that
Kevin, it looks like a
weight.
Gatling gun.
Yeah.
It's just,
and parts are just chunking out of there. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing.
So it's, you know, over $1 million in a 1 year lead time. So get yours while they last.
Plan ahead. Plan ahead. So let's talk a little bit about your spinner machine. You said it's it does a lot, right? So you went there to get a little bit of training, right? And then you're utilizing it now. Is it working for you now?
Yes, it is. We have a one part we're making on that now that we had. We were making it in, golly, I can't remember the numbers, like 17 minutes in the previous machine tool that we had, and now it's about a 6 minute part. So we cut it by 2/3, and very, very accurate machine. We're very happy with that equipment. We were able to meet on. Is it Andreas Spinner? I think that's the
correct. Yes,
the man that founded the company, or I guess maybe the second generation. I think it was founded in about
1948. Man, you got a good memory. Well done.
So there are 3 brothers that are running it now, I believe, and we toured their shop, and it was very, very nice, and they were very hospitable to us, and we had a good time while we were there.
Well, it's nice to make those introductions so that, it's that relationship, so that when we're getting our machine going, having trouble or trying to expand or whatever, we can communicate both in the States and then
you know who you're dealing with. That is important. I agree. Yeah. And they're family run, so it's important you guys to
really
be family run as well.
And it was unique in that we have the level of access and the level of attention that we got. It was not what we're used to.
You deserve the attention. Wow. Yeah, we feel that way. We've been in business a long time.
Well, the part, we had trouble with the part. It's a missile defense part, and its volume is up, and there's 3 micron geo tolerances, and it's got to be right. It's 100% inspection. It's very tricky, and we're doing it. We did it. Yeah.
Good job. Do you know? I don't want to throw you under the bus. I just am curious about what level of manufacturing. Do you know the difficulty of a micron? The size of a micron?
It's the term I hear all the time, and when I did my lathing thing, we were working in microns, but
you can't see it physically. Like, it's smaller. It's smaller than like a cell, like a blood cell. And if a temperature changes by 1 degree, you could lose 3 to 4 micron in your tolerance.
Right.
That's why so many rooms are thermally protected, because a micron is so difficult. And the fact that machines are doing it these days, incredible.
Wow. It is, and there's no grinding. We're doing it on a lathe, so.
There's no secondary operations to get to that point. You're getting it right off of the machine that way.
And we negotiated, when these contracts start with these close tolerances, we negotiate a QC process for temperature and heat soak and inspection methods and matching CMM programs. Because the primes know that it's a lot easier to check one of those bad than it is good, and they want, at the end of the day, they want product. So we develop QA acceptance protocol along with making the part.
And do you guys use HARMA products as well?
We do.
What products of theirs do you use?
Primarily tool holders.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They're definitely famous for that.
Yeah.
Tool holders, and then we've got their measuring equipment,
yeah,
and their balancing equipment.
Tool setter.
We're looking at their tool crib offering right now. I believe they're in our shop today talking about that. So we're looking forward to coming up to speed with our tool crib and making sure that we have the tools and material and at the machine when they're ready for their next job.
And that the ERP tool knows what those things are, and they're ready, and the life is left on them, etc.
Well, if you
it's
took
a pretty complicated database.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you took a tour of the HARMA facility, though, they're using their products to make their products, and their tool crib is exceptional. And on top of that, they got a bunch of index machines as well over at HARMA making the tool holders that you guys are talking. It really is a full 360 operation going. So what they practice, they preach as well. Great German company. Shout out to Andy HARMA, and also Brent Holden, just for fun while we're at it. Any questions you have for these guys? I feel like I've hogged this entire session.
No, this is great. You're the pro at this, right?
It's a stretch.
I learn, and we are talking about the fact that I'm learning, I'm trying to figure it out and change my terminology, but I know you guys have some very demanding end users with very tight tolerances that maybe we can't name, but we talked about the micron piece, but talk about the clean room, because that's a whole different environment to be operating in.
Well, we just added a clean room. We had one small clean room in our facility where we operate every day. We just leased, what is that, about 5,000 foot clean room where we're doing clean room assembly now. And just got that going maybe 8 weeks ago, and we're doing some assembly there now. And I wanted to talk some about the, hopefully the educators, or we can get this podcast out in front of schools and maybe the governor, and we can get some funding.
If the governor's watching right now, this is for you, buddy.
Here comes John.
The Central Texas area has grown their manufacturing tremendously over the last 15 to 20 years, and we have a very small pool of talent that is in the machining and welding and fabrication business. And something that I was a beneficiary, or Athena was the beneficiary, was the Elgin School District started a program with Austin Community College where they're starting in the 8th grade, the students go into a welding program, and they learn about welding, and it's a 4-year program, and we're the sponsor of that program, and we bring them into our factory several times a year as their 8th graders and 9th graders and 10th graders and 11th graders. And then in the summer before their senior year, they intern for us. And then once they finish the internship, we most of the time offer them jobs. And over the past 3 years, we've been able to hire 25 people out of that program.
Been amazing.
And the students, if they apply themselves, can get an associate's degree from ACC in welding technology.
ACC is Austin Community College for
So they have an associate's degree, a 2-year degree from Austin Community College when they graduate high school. And that is the best thing I've seen from the education system, and the benefit to the student of having 2 years under their belt for free right out of high school is just tremendous. You know, the cost of a 4-year degree now is just, you know, enormous. When I went to college, my tuition was $231 a semester, and you know, and it's probably $20,000 a semester now. But you know, it's just really expensive for people to be able to, you know, get a college degree. And not that everyone needs a college degree. There's so much offerings in manufacturing and the trades for people to, you know, make a good living. And you know, Bill Gates doesn't have a college degree, and Michael Dell doesn't have a college degree. So it's you know, and those guys have been tremendously successful. And sometimes it's better to get out there and start earning and learning, you know, before you go off to college and accumulate a lot of debt that you're going to have to pay off later on. And you know, you're young and you don't understand how burdensome debt can be to you to have to pay off. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And Governor, if we could get a machining program in Central Texas, and we could get a lot of machinists and machine programmers, we could really grow our economy and make Central Texas and Texas even better than it is. But there's a definite need for machinists and programmers, welders, you know, so we can continue to make product as we bring all this work home. So
now that we've called out the governor,
I know, John, you're going to get me in trouble.
And to a shout out to John. I mean, he tried for 3 years to get something going with with Austin, other bedroom communities, and been on all these boards and all these commissions. And we had fits and starts, and then we hooked up with Elgin, and it's not just welding. It's we rotate them through all the work centers in the sheet metal fab or in the machine shop or wherever they want to go, office, HR, QC, dot control, and they rotate through. And then when they graduate, we don't always put them in welding. We put them in where they want to work or where we need to work. So it's really, really successful because it just kind of spreading, right? And it's growing. And another comment is that, if you come out of high school and you think you want to go to college, but you don't know what you want to do, maybe you shouldn't go to college right away.
It's an expensive way to not know what you want to do.
It's an expensive way to find out, $200,000 in debt and half a degree in poetry. Oh boy, right? So, you can go to these programs, you can get a really good wage, you have no debt, you can accumulate wealth, accumulate knowledge, figure out what you want to do, and you may not even want to do that. You're like, I hate this. I don't want to go mess with metal anymore. Okay.
Then go to school.
Then
go to university if you want to.
Yeah.
Or
But
if
you
I'm
didn't
really
spend anything figuring out you didn't want to do
Right.
it.
Right.
And
if
made
you
money.
And if you do, let's say you want to go to get an engineering degree, that's a pretty good way to find out if you're going to be good at it or if you have the aptitude or the desire, right? And it's quite likely that your employer will support that and fund it.
Yeah, the way you've described this for me, Bill, it almost seems irresponsible to expect a 18-year-old human to go, I know what I want to do for the next 45 years of my
Yeah.
life. That doesn't even seem fair.
What's a
Go
tough
make a
one?
little money and then go to school a little later.
So the message is that if you go to an apprenticeship program and you enter a trade at a company like Athena, it's not a one and done thing. There's nothing to prevent you from leveraging that or just saying, I don't want to do it and moving on. A couple, 2-3 years, have some money in the bank, money in the bank. Okay, go to college. Then you go ask BAE or Lockheed or whoever you work for, hey, you have a tuition reimbursement. I got a master's degree working for Texas Instruments. They paid for it.
Yeah, and a lot of them are doing that these days.
No, and I think, Bill, you touch on something right now, that it's not I'm in and here I am and I'm going to just go, horizontal. This is an upward trajectory. It's up to you, and we have continual upskilling and the programs that we're developing. And so, the idea is, I can learn this at this level, but eventually I hope to get into a supervisory role, right? And so, again, where ARMA comes in, we provide, supervisory training, right, for these individuals to learn how to operate in teams and take that skill and then build upon that and keep going. And we have this great program now with Austin Community College, which they can actually earn a bachelor's degree in applied technology. You can graduate high school with a dual credit program, have your associates go in and get some upskilling and continue to learn, and then ultimately get a bachelor's degree, and where you go. And something fascinating that has happened, this is the first year that it's done, through a terrific program, ACC is now offering free tuition if you graduate high school and live in their taxing district. Wow. You can now effectively get your associate's degree, no tuition, and I believe you may be able to go all the way up if you plan it right to your bachelor's degree and not pay a dime in tuition.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And so why, we just got to get people educated on these opportunities and the ability to go make.
We have the first class that ACC was done now. One of the guys that's in that works for us. He started as a detailer in our grinding shop.
Grinding wells.
And he's been there since 2010. He and I started about the same time. And now he is the manager of all of our fabrication. really sharp guy that works hard,
And he's still going to school.
yeah, and he's working on his bachelor's degree now through that ACC program. So we're really proud of him. He's done a great job, and a really good program.
And he's been a mentor to the Elgin program, and he's been a liaison with ACC Welding, and it's just been fabulous.
I love it.
I mean, we I think as a region have really come together collaboratively to try and put these programs into place and provide this training. And a shout out to our friends at ACC, because they've been fabulous collaborators, right? They spun the academic model on its head. Where most education institutions want to push supply into the market, ACC stepped back and said, look, bring the manufacturers to the table so we know what the need is, and we design the program not only just for the skill set, but around the working people that are trying to go through the programs, because they've been very flexible in their approach on that. And that, I think, is really is what made the Central Texas region stand out from other parts of the country in our workforce development and training, because we have an institution that said we will work with that. And now that is spreading, right? I'd mentioned TSTC earlier, and we've got friends up at Temple College now that are all in on that because they've seen the success of the program. So we have that momentum going. We've had Secretary Raimondo here. She's visited multiple times because she really likes what she's seeing at this program. So we're excited. To our friends at ACC, thank you. It's been great. So.
Well, Kevin, I believe you have another guest you'd like to bring on.
We do.
We're down to 20 minutes on our show right now, and I'd love to keep these guys for the rest of the day, but I'm not sure I'm allowed to.
Well,
should we thank these young men for their time, congratulate them on their retirement, and invite our next guest on?
Thank you. I
If
appreciate
you're
you
watching,
both coming
Governor,
by.
we do have about 500,000 followers right now. We're hoping you're one of those 500,000 listening to these guys. Bill, thank you so much for your time. John, thank you so much for your time.
Hey everybody, Mike Franz here with Shop Floor Coffee. For 20 years, we've been seeing the same issues going on with workforce development and the shortage in workers across the industry. We wanted a way to give back. Shop Floor Coffee is our way to do that. Proceeds from every bag or every type of coffee you buy from us go back to the community. We work with amazing programs and initiatives across the country where we're giving back. We want to help support the community. Come together with us. Join us in this effort to help support the community. Please, thank you very much.
Well, I don't want to say we saved the best for last because we had some really great guests on today, but to close this thing out, I got my buddy Justin Warden, VP of Sales and Marketing, Rucka Solutions. Did I say that correctly?
You got it, man.
Awesome. But we also have a little bit of work at SMTA as well, right?
Yeah, man, I'm pulling a little bit of double duty here at the show.
But you're also more famous than I am, an influencer, thought leader of sorts, doing your own podcasting and storytelling. So we really have a lot going on to talk about in our last few minutes.
Yeah, man, I can tell you this. Usually I'm the one doing the interviewing, so if I start asking you questions, just tap me on the shoulder and tell me to shut up.
I'll start answering. That's the problem. I'll start answering them.
Well, hey, you and I are very passionate about manufacturing, and my specific industry is more in just the electronic vertical of manufacturing. And that's why we love to be here. We love to support ARMA. We love to put out as much content as we can because we're driving that workforce development just like ARMA. So many of their members are also members of the SMTA nonprofit that I'm a partner in. And it's just, the more information we can get out, the more people we can help.
I'm looking at your booth right here. I'm grateful that it's right in front of me. You belong here. I like that very much. And I like that you said nonprofit. Can we talk about make local and global connections? What are you actually doing through this nonprofit?
Yeah, so the SMTA is a global nonprofit. They have entities all over. I am myself the president of the Austin chapter. So we put on an expo just like what you see here in all the major cities all across the United States, Mexico, China, Europe. We have it everywhere. In fact, I'm just returning from SMTA Guadalajara, which is one of the most amazing shows I've ever experienced. And if you know anything about the manufacturing industry, Guadalajara has become this hotbed specifically because of the electronic vehicles. I mean, they're building all their circuit boards down there. And the SMTA Guadalajara is such a feather in the cap because that started as a small little tabletop show in a small room in a hotel and now is one of the premier trade shows for the industry with over 4,000 people showing up every day.
That's impressive.
It is.
Well, I love Guadalajara to begin with.
Oh, man.
It's one of my favorite cities
It's a
in
good
Mexico,
time.
but I didn't realize that was going on. If I am a person who's curious to learn more, what type of person am I?
Yeah, so the SMTA caters to the manufacturer, right? They're the end user. Of course, they have people like myself with Rocket Solutions that are here to sponsor and provide resources and get in front of that end user because, well, let's be frank, we're trying to sell them something, right? But we want to advance the manufacturing industry. So anyone that is doing manufacturing in the electronics industry is a perfect candidate to become a member of the SMTA. I mean, it's very inexpensive. It is a nonprofit, but what they're really focused on is providing all the educational resources to advance your team. So there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there that are here to kind of get you to take a test and get a certificate so you can hang it behind your desk and say, hey, I'm an expert at this. We're different. We're focusing purely on the educational aspect, and we're giving it all that away for free. There are so many papers and white papers dating back 40 years that are archived online that you can go and just learn. I'm like you. I fell into this industry 4 years ago before COVID, man. I was finance. I was doing mortgages in San Diego. I was holding parties, working with real estate agents, student loans, and doing that. I fell into manufacturing somehow. And the only way I could play catch up was to dig into that website and read as many papers. I didn't know what a micron was or a printer. I didn't know any of this type of stuff. So I heard you saying that earlier. I didn't know. I have a minor in chemistry because they said if I took one class, I get a minor. Okay. The teacher was probably cute, right?
That happens that way. That happens that way. Plus, you got these great jackets, so I imagine that worked out for you.
Yeah.
I see electronic manufacturing, but I also just heard you say I was partying in San Diego. Why? Look, I love manufacturing. Before I say what I'm about to say, I love manufacturing. Okay, now that that's been said, why did you transition from partying in San Diego with finance to manufacturing, electronic manufacturing?
Oh, man. COVID, right? I mean,
you couldn't do the partying?
I look young, but I have a wife. I have 2 kids, man. In San Diego, if I was still single, man, I'd be living on the beach, right? Man, I'm gonna get in trouble after this podcast.
Right. Nobody's watching,
it's
right?
It's all
man?
Kevin's fault. No.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
is your wife going to be watching this?
Hopefully not. I'll tell her I came home early. No, but like so many other people in California, you know, life caught up with you. COVID shut us down, and I just really came to Texas thinking Austin's alive. So I thought I'd be here for 3 months. After a few months, my wife said, let's stay. So I threw my resume out there, and you know, someone saw that I had a minor in chemistry. They saw my videos and like, that's what we need right now. And if it wasn't for that minor in chemistry, I never would have fell into this industry.
Seriously?
Swear to God.
The one class to get you a minor, and you're like, okay, sure, whatever. And that's what got him the gig.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what?
You did say this young man was entertaining. You were not lying.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. I like to put a smile on people's face. And, you know, I just feel that, you know, and Kevin's bringing this to ARMA too. I mean, ARMA's always been such a good organization. I really connected with Ed, and he really built this up really well. And, you know, Kevin's bringing in this fun, energetic environment. And I mean, look at this place. I mean, I can hear the people buzzing in my headphones, and I got headphones on, right? People are moving and shaking, and what we really need to do is just make manufacturing fun. And people won't be scared to go into it.
Yeah, it's so true.
We're about fun, and you can see Justin brings the energy, right? And one of the things that we talk about at ARMA that is passionate to me is we're all in this together, right? So a lot of times you can see this in different places where, you know, people are territorial. We're not trying to be territorial. We want to work together with SMTA and, you know, all the other manufacturing alliances. And we want to, you know, cross promote and bring it, because we're all trying to solve the same thing. We're all trying to bring people into manufacturing, depending, you know, wherever your entry point is and what that looks like. So this is the fun and the energy of being able to connect and do things. We were just talking earlier today about, you know, their upcoming event and you know, Expo, and I'm like, yeah, let's promote it. Give me the date. Let's put it out there. We're going to start pushing people to that. So, and plus they bring Cybertrucks up, man. So it's cool.
I do got that Cybertruck connection. Tesla's a good member. Yeah, but you know, in addition to the SMTA and I work with Rocket Solutions.
I was just going to ask you, we talked so much about the nonprofit.
I got it. Like, come on, man, let me pay the bills.
I was going to ask you if you were into hip hop music because I remember Rockaware.
Yeah.
But this is something different. Now you have a solution for Rockaware. What is this all about?
Yeah, so Rocka's a very unique company. We're a global distributor for consumable products, but we also manufacture a lot of our own consumable products. I got to sit in on your keynote today, and hey, kudos, by the way, you did a great job. There's a lot of things that I want to highlight on there, but one of the things you really talked about is the nearshoring and the reshoring. And Rocka started in Mexico, and with the tremendous amount of electronic manufacturing down there, they just skyrocketed. They don't pay me to say that.
They don't.
Yeah, right? And then they brought me on board to kind of bring them into the United States. And over the last year, we're in the United States, we're in Canada, we're in Brazil. We got 2 facilities in Brazil. We're in Europe. We're opening up in China and Australia. And what really sets us apart is not only do we do the global distribution, but we're manufacturing our own parts. And our goal by having the resources in Mexico is we're going to bring consumable manufacturing, and we already have, back to North America. And in consumables, you're talking about inexpensive, for the most part, high-use products. But so many of those products are just being mass manufactured over in China. And by the time they get to the end user, they have passed through 5, 6, 7 levels of distribution that are all doing their 30, 40% markup. So you're paying a premium. You still think it's inexpensive, but you're paying a premium for a low-quality product. And Rocka was the same way. They were just white labeling all these raw materials that were being manufactured in China. But when COVID hit, and there's so many people don't know this, and I guarantee there's products that are being used on today's road, and they don't know that the raw materials were changed behind the scenes because they were changed in China or Taiwan or wherever. No one knew, the distributor didn't know, and they went, and they're probably on the cars that we're driving today because no one told them that they changed this quality of steel, or they changed this bolt, or this level of that. And it happened to us, the paper, clean room paper, things you don't even think about, gloves, screwdrivers, things were changing. And Rocka decided at that point that we were going to control our own raw materials so that never happens again.
You are probably too young, even though you said you have 2 kids married.
Yeah.
But do you remember the drywall situation we had with Change? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what you're talking about is significant because if you go behind the scenes and make your own changes, it changes the effectiveness of everything. I know you remember the where we had to rip out all that Chinese drywall. I want to go back to you real quick, Justin, and just consumables, right? Consumables have been an issue in U.S. manufacturing. Maybe not so much your Colombian and Mexican manufacturing, but it's been an issue based on the wages, the average wages of our people here in the U.S. If you believe and you say that consumables are coming back, how are we able to do that cost effectively on a global scale?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. And I mean, that's my sales pitch, right? So by owning the raw materials, and full disclosure, the raw materials are still being made in China. You're never going to take away from that. But if you actually own and operate and control your raw materials, you know what's in them and you can truly vouch for the quality. So with Rocka, we're bringing the mass quantity of raw materials over here, but doing the actual product manufacturing in North America.
The processing.
So for rolls, you're actually doing the rolls. So you can bring over massive amounts of product. Because in the end, what you're really doing is you're just filling a crate full of product. And when you can fill it full of the raw materials and ship it over, you can bring over higher volumes and lower quantity. Higher volumes at lower cost. As opposed to a finished product good going over in a crate, there's so much airspace in those crates, you're still paying the same amount of money for that, right? So in the end, you're gonna get a lower quality product. But then when we actually make the product here, and then we can sell directly to the consumer as the manufacturer, we're probably pissing a lot of people off because the distributors that want their hands in that, they're missing out on a lot of sales commission and markup. So in the end, what someone may be paying $20 for a low quality product, we can sell at half cost for a much higher quality product because they're buying it directly from us.
I have 2 follow-ups to this, Kevin, and you might as well. I don't want to steal all the show from you, buddy, but I'm enjoying
you and I can get back on the podcast and talk again.
For
man.
sure. I think you're welcome in Florida anytime.
I'm there.
One coast to the other coast. But the 2 follow-ups I have, and one of them's kind of a rude follow-up, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. So in essence, we are allowing another place, because there are some eco-friendly green people that pursue that. We cannot rip our own country apart to get certain materials, and some materials just don't exist in our area of the earth, right? So we are, in theory, allowing someone else to rip up their part of their country, their earth, their less eco-friendly situation for the raw materials. But the concept of, if we still had a majority of our foundries here producing steels and stuff like that, we're able to produce the raw materials in the same way, which gives us that overall lower cost for the end result, which we're all looking for. We're just bringing it over from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I don't remember the drywall issue, but I'm the son of an iron worker, right? My dad built skyscraper. I mean, he was building bridges. So the whole Chinese steel thing and all that, like, I grew up hearing that on repeat in the background of every conversation when the news was on. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and that is true. I mean, if you don't control the quality of the raw materials, in the end, you truly don't know what is being built. And when you look at, in my industry with electronics, even a non-electronic vehicle, a non-Tesla, everything is controlled by an electronic circuit board. Your transmission, your brakes, your air, it's not just your windows, it's everything is controlled by an electronic component. And if we don't know the quality of the products that are going in there, we can't truly say those are safe vehicles. And that's the fact of the matter.
On top of that, what I would add to this, Kevin, is 100% what you just said, 100%. But also, we're taking the power into our own hands of having a source, right?
Yep.
Because even if the quality is the best quality on the planet, but somebody just decides to say, oh, we're not ready to do this anymore, we're still shut down regardless of quality.
Well, the other thing, so if you remove the whole coming from China away, what you're also doing is you're cutting out all these distribution channels, and that's really where
a lot of costs.
And you probably know this well more than I do. I mean, before it leaves China, it's going to cost through 2 or 3 distributions, and then there's the exports, the imports, the tariffs, all that type of stuff, and then it's going to get to the border, and then someone here in the United States or Mexico or wherever, there's a distributor who's going to sell it to another distributor. So the only one that's paying the price for the premium is the end user. Right? So what I'm spending so much of my time with Raka is I'm not even focused on selling the products and saying they're the best products. What my goal is saying, like, look, right now everyone's saying what's going on with the economy. The electronic market as a whole is down 25% in Mexico, let alone in the US. So all manufacturing is, and you mentioned this in your presentation, we're sitting here going, what are we going up? Are we going down? Are we plateaued? Is it the election? What is it? The chances of someone increasing their revenue right now is probably slim to none. So let's peel back the onion. Let's go look at the books. I sell paper rolls by the thousands. I sell router bits. These are things that are the number one consumable for some of these facilities. And if I can cut that price in half, you just doubled your revenue, your net revenue, without making another dollar. But so many people want to focus on the high product, like the big pieces of equipment, the $250,000 this, the $1 million that. No. Those are one-time purchases that last 10 years. Go look at your paper. Go look at your chemicals. Go look at your solder paste, your consumables, your gloves, your ESD straps. Those are the things that truly decrease your bottom line and increase your revenue.
Now you're bringing out the cost accountant in me, man.
I was just going to say
I'm a
that.
finance guy too, man.
Taking me back. Yeah.
So what consumables do you provide?
So yeah, Raka, I mean, as far as the products that we're manufacturing in-house, we have clean room supplies, the stencil rolls for the printers and the circuit board process, router bits, gloves, ESD equipment, splice tape, all the things that are at the front end of the manufacturing process on the circuit board.
How do you have time to do both of these things?
So I volunteer over there, but I mean, I don't actually.
And you're a father and a husband.
You know. I mean, it's what we do. I mean, I'm passionate about it, man. I mean, one thing, if I could take the conversation in a different direction, I wanted to bring up.
However you want.
Yeah. So hey,
we got a couple of minutes before they steal Kevin away from us.
I told you I was going to piss some people off when you said me to sit down. So
one of my favorite things to do, even if it's on accident. Sorry, not sorry. Hashtag.
So we do a lot of workforce development. We work with the teacher or the students. We work with, we're all the way down in the high schools, Kevin, with some of the stuff that you and I are doing. The one thing, if I could take one thing away from your presentation, your keynote, which was so many solid points, but the number one thing you said, I don't think anyone heard it but me, is you said, we need to talk to the parents. All right. And you kept saying, we got to make manufacturing sexy. Some of the cleanest places I've ever been in my life, it is on manufacturing of circuit boards. I mean, the clean room, you literally wear you don't breathe in there. But as a son of an iron worker that grew up, saw the crash, I saw so many families go bankrupt because they lost their money in their 401k. I grew up in the Midwest. I saw them pull all the automotive manufacturing out of Cleveland and Detroit and the steel manufacturing. I saw cities become fully impoverished. I mean, Detroit is just now coming back. It's been 40 years. So the one thing that I would say that we need to focus on is getting to these parents. It's not the students. I think we can sell them on manufacturing. But when they go home, their dad is going to say, just like he said to me, you will never work in manufacturing. You will work in an office. You'll go have a job that they can't just take away from you, working that 9 to 5. My grandfather said it before my dad said it. So the question I'm going to have for you guys is, how do we get in front of those people? Because we can push manufacturing and say how sexy it is and how fun it is and how you can make 6 figures, sitting in a chair and doing some cool stuff with tweezers and a circuit board. But when they go home from college or from high school, their parents will be like, no, the government can just take it away. When you look at that graph you put up there, 1970 to today, well, it's starting to crawl back as we bring it back and we reshore and nearshore. Yeah. But what if they take it away again? I'm 40 with kids, my 401k's gone, and I just lost my job.
This is the reason I'm staring off into space is because I'm thinking about what it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And here's what I'll say. We make the worst decisions when we're afraid of something, when we're scared of something. When we're surrounded by fear, that's when we make very poor and very safe decisions. So what has happened, to your point, what has happened is the parents and or grandparents had a stable job and a stable career that they saw come crumbling down and destroy their households. Why would they ever advocate once again for a potential downfall or crash, even if it's super good right now because they can't believe in it? How do we break that barrier, break that mindset of fear-based thinking to say, that won't happen again. We've learned from what we're doing and it's back to stay, but we must convince them. And you're so right. And how do we get there?
So that's spot on, right? Because we talk about, we've got to get the kids in high school. And I'm like, no, you got to get the influencers. And because we talk about parents, but it's not just parents. It's going to be the counselors at the high schools, because counselors also have a perception of what manufacturing is. And they're not, no, we don't want you to go manufacturing. You should go this route, right? And there's many different trades. We need healthcare people. We need, teachers and all of that. But manufacturing, I think, kind of gets pushed to the side because of this old perception. So we talk about it. You and I both touched on this, right? From the late or the early 90s to today. That's 3 decades, right? So that's multiple generations of people who still think of what manufacturing used to be. And so I try not to use the term manufacturing anymore. I try to use advanced manufacturing or additive manufacturing, something that's a little bit different. You want to learn coding, right? So manufacturing isn't just about standing in front of a machine anymore. It's about learning to program and design and do that stuff. And so you've got that message, but how do you get to them, right? So this is the dilemma that we look at when we're trying to go with a marketing campaign, because we're like, all right, if we want to get to the students, we're going to have to push out to TikTok because that's where they're living, right? So you've got to find influencers to get on that. Now, you can come this way, But when you go to the parents aren't living out there. They're probably on Facebook, So we got to get the parents over, to where you're at and where you're living. But there's this duality in how you rebrand marketing and the perception, and there's 2 different ways you have to go at that, and it's a struggle every single day to figure out how to do that. So I get it, right? And I heard it. I've been preaching it forever. Like it's the parents, the counselors, the influencers that you've got to get in front of and show them what manufacturing has become.
I want to pose this question to close out this podcast because I know you got to go. Justin, you and I are just going to fly to Florida. I think that's what we're doing. Is that okay with you?
As long as they serve the whiskey.
Yeah. Is that I wonder if that's coming.
I see a bottle over there.
Okay. You think we can snag that? All right. So I want to pose this question, and I don't know if this is reality or not, but I just want to pose it to see who out there leaves a really mean comment, probably. Do you know how doctors, when they prescribe pills, they get a cutback of every prescription? Do you think the guidance counselors get cutbacks of every university when they're like, go to university, forget the trades? I feel like because universities are such a a money sourced situation that it's almost like I'm going to propose that to all the students or else you're going to be a failure so I can get a cutback from my local universities. I don't know if that's real.
Well, but to that point, right, and I think this is the issue you have to deal with the parents, because the parents think that, well, if my kid doesn't go and get a 4-year college degree, then they're a failure, right? Parents are pushing them to want to go in that direction, and it's like, look, your kid can make just as much money and have a better ROI, as you talked about today, and get free tuition. Like, if I'm a parent and I'm looking at that and I'm like, hey, it's, $200,000 to pay for my kid to go to college, but I can put them through a program that's not going to cost me hardly anything because I can get it covered. I might tell my kid, hey, you should look at this as an alternative. And so I think you just have to get that out of parents' minds as well, because it's just because you don't get a 4-year college degree, and I love, UT and everything else, but, that's an expensive proposition. There are different alternatives. And as we talked about, 57% of the kids who graduate in Texas don't go on to any post-secondary.
Yeah, that was an incredible number, by the way.
There is a pathway for these students that's sitting there and waiting for them. We just need them to see that pathway. That's what I talk about. It's hope, opportunity, and purpose, and that's what manufacturing provides, and let's try and get that story out there.
Very well said, Justin. I'm going to leave this for you. Any closing statements before we roll this thing up?
He nailed that. I don't know if I want to steal the last word, but the one thing I would say, and Kevin, we can have a longer conversation, or maybe you and I can too. I spent 10 years in the student loan industry before coming over to this space, so I have a very in-depth point of view on the whole college 4-year scam. But I can tell you the history about that later. But what I would say is if they start providing kickbacks to counselor, I know my next career decision would be to go over to counselor because I can get a hell of a kickback. I'm pretty good with my mouth and I can provide value somehow. So I did not mean to say that. Don't repeat that.
Just
do not
kidding.
zoom in. Do not zoom in on that. But no, man, that's all I got, man. This has been fun. It was such a great time getting together.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin?
Yes.
Come over right here.
Do the kumbaya.
Thank you all for watching an extended and unique version of The Gun Show. So many great guests today. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to these incredible human beings as well. And thank you all for being a part of manufacturing also. Without you, we couldn't do this. And one more last thing, as I always say at the end of my shows, time is one thing we cannot manufacture more of. So if you've shared your precious time with us today, we truly thank you. Welcome back to The Gun Show, my friends. This is the VIP edition.